Hey everyone, Mr. H here. Just going to go through some chapter 2. Um, as a reminder, the notes that I use in these videos can be found in Canvas. If you go to modules, you'll see a one-stop shop for notes and videos. And you can download the notes and follow along. So this is 2.1. It's on frequency distributions mainly. So what is a frequency distribution? Well, here's an example of one. This one's the points scored by the winning team for the first 52 Super Bowls. So you'll see it's divided up into classes. Classes are just ranges of values, in this case, points. So for example, on this first class, there were 5 teams that won the Super Bowl that scored between 14 and 19 points, and etc. down the list. So just to go through some vocabulary here, what we're calling these values in this column, you can see that it's frequency. Frequency is just the number of values within the range. And then we have class, which we talked about. Okay, so if I start answering some of these questions, how many classes are in this distribution? I can just count them. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 total classes. Right? When we get into class limits here on number 2, the lower class limit is the lower value in each range. So I would just start with the 14, right? And then just list them separated by commas, right? 14, 20, 26, etc. Right? Those will be what's called the lower limits. And then similarly, we have upper class limits. Those would be the higher ones in each range, right? Starting with the 19 and going through and just jotting all those down. Okay. Now class width. Class width is defined to be how many whole numbers are in the class. So if I just take an example, the 14 to 19 range, if I count out those numbers, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, that's a total of 6 numbers. So the class width is 6. Okay. I use my fingers, so I was just counting with my fingers there and counted up 6. Right. Another way is you could subtract 2 consecutive lower class limits. Right. So if you think about these two, 20 minus 14 is 6. Right. And any of them work. 32 minus 26 is 6. Right. 50 minus 44 is 6. Even in the upper class limits, it would work. The one way to get the wrong answer is if you subtract the upper and lower class limits in one class, right? Like the 14 and 19. 19 minus 14 is 5. That's wrong. Right? So don't do it that way, and you'll be fine. And then the sum of the frequencies, that's just, I'm just going to add up all of those values, right, with my calculator. Good to have a calculator out at this point, right? Chapter 1, you didn't really need a calculator. Now you'll definitely want one going forward. Okay, so that will be 52. And we've got the sum of the frequencies. Okay, if I continue on now, let's look at generating our own frequency distribution. So here is a list of some raw data, exam scores from math class. Got them all kind of jumbled up, no real order or organization. A frequency distribution is a way to organize data. That's our point here. And then here's some steps that you can follow to generate a frequency distribution. We're going to use 5 classes. The first step is you want to find what's called the range. The range is the maximum score minus the minimum score. So I got to hunt for those. If I'm looking through my list of values, I just want to find the biggest one, right? And that's that 97 right there, right? So the maximum value is 97, and I'm going to subtract the minimum value, which I see a 50 right there. So I think that's the smallest one. 97 minus 50 is 47. Okay, that's called the range. Next, I'm going to find the class width. Okay, so if you don't already have the frequency distribution like that previous example, here's a way to find that class width. All right, there's a little formula for it. Okay, so it says take the range and divide by the number of classes. Okay, I can do that. 47 from the range divided by 5. Sorry about the horrible handwriting. Oh, that's kind of the way it is right now. Okay, that's a 9.4. All right. Now there's in capital bold letters, always round up to the next whole number. All right. And it's in this type of problem, it's always up. Ignore your old rounding rules for this problem. In general, we'll use them, but I'm always going to round up to the next whole number. So this one is 10, okay, not 9. So always round up no matter what the decimal point is. That's just to ensure that in the end, all of your data values will fit into a class. Okay, step 3, we're going to get the lower class limits. Now, we're always going to start the first lower class limit as the minimum value. So my first one is 50. All right, that's the minimum. Okay. And then all you do to get all those lower class limits is just keep adding the class width. So plus 10, 60, plus 10, 70, plus 10, 80, and plus 10, 90. And I got the 5 because I'm after, remember, 5 classes. Okay. Upper class limits, let's see. The first upper class limit is 1 less than the lower limit of the second class. Okay, what? All right, so I go to the second class, which would be the 60, and 1 less than that. All right, so that's going to be a 59. That makes sense because notice your first class is going to go from 50 to 59, and then the next one's going to start at the next whole number, 60. Okay, and then to get the rest, just keep adding that class width, adding 10, and that generates all the upper class limits. Step 5 is the tedious step. Count up how many data values are in each class to find the frequency. Okay. When we get to StatCrunch, I'll show you some ways where you can input this data into a spreadsheet and organize it by ordering it, and that makes it a little bit easier. If you want to try that now, go ahead, but there'll be future videos on that. For now, we're just going to do it kind of old school and just hunt for them and write them down. So let's go ahead and start filling out this table down below, and then I can start putting in the frequencies. Okay, so here's my frequency distribution down here. Notice my lower limits, I've already got them. I can fill those in, right? And then the uppers. Okay, so I've already defined my classes. There's nothing here. Okay, now frequency, you're just counting up how many values are in that class. So in other words, in the range of 50 to 59, if I go back up to my list, can I find all of the values that are between 50 and 59? And I'm just gonna kind of look through and count them out. So there's a 59, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and that's all, okay? So then I'm gonna write 6 right here. And I'm gonna do that for each class. I'm not gonna bore you in this video and going through each one. So at this point, I am just going to do it. And so I'm pausing the video and I'll be right back and fill it up. Okay, so that's what I came up with when I counted them out. If you want to double check me, that's fine, and send me an email if I made a mistake. But again, just to remember what this is telling me. So in like that second class, 60 to 69 right here, I found 4 values that are in that range from my original list. Just hunted for all the values that were in their 60s, and I found 4 of them. Okay. Okay, so that was step 5. Step 6 is finding the midpoint of each class. So the midpoint is basically an average value of the class. So it's the value that's right in the middle, like for example, the class 50 to 59. I'm going to just average those together. So I can do 50 plus 59. Let's just do that here. 50 plus 59, add those up first, and then divide that by 2, right? So just take 50 plus 59 and hit enter in your calculator, and then divide by 2, and you get 54.5. That's the midpoint. Okay. Now the cool thing about midpoints is they will differ by that class width as well. So you could just now keep adding that class width of 10 to generate all of your midpoints. Right? Or you could average each class together, add them up, divide by 2, but that would be the fastest way. Once you get one, then just add 10 each time, or add your class width. Okay, the next thing is relative frequency. Relative frequency is like a proportion. So in other words, in this class of 50 to 59, we had 6 students. What percentage of students or what proportion of students were in that range? So that has a little formula. If you notice the way it's written, it's F divided by sigma F. Sigma means summation, right? Or that's the sum of all of the F's. So I have to add all of those up. If I add all those up, that's 41, or there was 41 total students, right? So for my relative frequency of this first class, I'm going to take the frequency of that class divided by the total frequency, right? And then for this one, if I do it on my calculator, I get 0.146341, blah, blah, blah. So let's just do 3 decimals on these and use your regular rounding rules on these. So that's 146, right? So that fourth digit is less than 5. You're just going to leave it 146. If that fourth digit is 5 or higher, then you would bump that 6 up to a 7. But in this case, it's 1463, so that's just going to be 146. Okay, so I'm going to do that for each one. 4 divided by 41, I'm getting 0.0975, so that's going to be a 0.098. Okay. 15 divided by 41, 0.366. 9 divided by 41, that's going to be a 0.220, isn't it? Because it's 2195. So the 5 bumps the 9 up to a 0 and the 1 up to a 2. All right. Tricky rounding. And then 0.171 for that last one. All right. Okay. Now there's really nothing to put here. This space right here, you could add up all of those relative frequencies and make sure they're about 1, right? 100%. There's some rounding involved, so it might not be exactly 1, but it would be like a 0.999 or 1.001, just a double check. Okay, the last thing in a frequency distribution we're going to talk about is what's called cumulative frequency, and that's the sum of frequencies of that class and all previous classes. Okay, so the first one, there is no previous classes, so it's just 6. It matches the frequency. The next class, for 60 to 69, the frequency is 4, but the previous one is 6. Right? So I'm doing 4 plus 6, 10. Right? For the 70 to 79, that frequency is 15. Add that one plus all previous, so the 4 and the 6, which we know is 10, that's a total of 25. Excuse me. The next one, 9, plus all the previous total 25, so add the 9, 36. And then for the 90 to 99, the frequency is 7, so all previous classes, that's everything, that's a 41. All right, and that generates that. Okay, so it's the sum of that class's frequency and all previous. All right. Okay, that's a good place to stop for this video. Hope that was helpful. Send questions my way if you have any, and I'll continue in the next video with the next page. All right, thanks. See ya.